Yo, what's up, everybody? We're back. It's been a hot minute. I think 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe since I did a podcast. A solo one. It's been a long time. As you see, your boy upgraded in the background. We got some couches, dude. We are doing things out here, baby. Built for tough. What's good? Today's episode we are live from the dog kennel again. Okay. We're gonna talk about why I started a podcast, why I wanted to podcast. So let's get into it. The number one reason, let's be honest here, um, not lie, I love podcasting. Like for a selfish reason, I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy being able to talk about whatever I want. I like to hear myself speak. Not really, actually. I talk to myself all day long. So it's like, it's a nice way to vent, get some things out. That's why I like these solo podcasts. But as you see, I wait like 4 weeks because I don't want to take a piece of paper. I don't want to sit it down in front of me, write on it. I want to talk about XXY. I like to get like a framework, maybe an idea. Like I said, this theme of this podcast is why. So I'll sit there, I'll marinate. Let me think about some things I want to talk about, and then I'll just jump in and do the podcast. I don't really ever want to do anything when it feels forced, especially creatively. Like I just don't enjoy that, man. I like to let the muse speak to me, and then when it comes, I'm like, all right, bet, let's do a podcast, let's do an episode. But on the flip side of that, it's not great for content creation. You want to have a schedule, you want to have something for your audience to stay entertained, but it is what it is. You can't rush creativity, you can't force creativity. So yeah, reason one why I want to do a podcast. I love them. They're fun. They're awesome. I enjoy talking to people. Um, I've noticed, like, I watch some podcasts, and it seems like the interviewer kind of has like an objective. They have a goal. They have a whatever of how they want to structure their podcast, how they're doing. When I'm doing mine, maybe when I'm doing my solo episodes, maybe I can see that. But when I'm talking to other people, if it's literally just interest, like, what are you interested in? What are you doing? There's a reason why I want to talk to you. I'm not just going to talk to anybody. But yeah, if you're just passionate about something, let's talk. If you're successful at something, let's talk. That interests me. I'm trying to do my own thing. I'm trying to grow and do whatever. So those are the kind of people that I'm looking for. Um, Small business owners, artists, dude, hobbyists. It literally does not matter. Stay at home mom. Are you good at it? Okay, I find that interesting. It's a hard job. Cora stays at home all the time. We're eventually going to do a podcast. We got a couple ideas in the works. It's just Penny a time now. I think I'm going to upload this one. Penny's taking a nap right now. She just went down like 20 minutes ago. I might try to talk Cora into doing an episode, but Cora's the opposite of me. She likes to, get everything structured, have her ideas written down, her points written down. That's just how her mind works. But she also has like a very informative subject matter to talk about, so I can understand why she needs those key points and whatever and whatnot. Um, the other reason of why I started a podcast, I think I've said this before, but I'm gonna die. One day I'm going to die. I have 3 kids, a fourth kid on the way. Not many people know that, so if you watch the podcast, say what's up, say congratulations, so I know you're listening, baby, because I haven't announced it on anything. Thought about doing it on YouTube, just to kind of see. I'm throwing it out here right now, again, just to see who actually listens to the content we're putting out. The fans, doing it for the fans, baby. But yeah, I'm gonna die. So I do the audio and I do the video so that one day my kids can go back, they'll have a catalog of all the shit I've ever said. That's why I'm also very transparent. Like, I want my story, all my lessons, everything I've learned in life. That's why I do what I do, man. history exists for a reason, so that we don't have to repeat the same problems. That's why I'm big into like reading books and learning about people again who are more successful than me, better than me at every aspect of their life, because why do I want to reinvent the wheel? Someone's already done it, okay? Show me how to skip all these steps, skip all these failures, and let me just jump right in. Let me learn from you, right? So I lay all this out here, A, so my kids can do that. They can use all the information that I've ever, gathered, to put them ahead, you know, if I already can't teach it to them, or maybe they forget, or, whatever. And then secondly, it's my voice. It's their dad. It's my face. It's my video. When my mom died, dude, I got barely any pictures. I got hardly any videos. I don't even know if I have any voicemails or anything like that. Um, but just thinking about that was one of the main reasons after my mom passed, I started the podcast, because I was like, again, one day I'm going to be gone. I want my kids to be able to see me, with, I guess, the advent of like AI and all that shit. At least they'll have all my videos, all my recordings, dude. They'll probably be able to like computer generate a version of me, and I'll basically be alive with them even after I'm gone. Or, who knows? I think we're in the time where, like, in the next 10 years, maybe 15, within my lifetime, I truly believe this. If society does not collapse, we will have the option and the opportunity to live forever, longer for sure, if not forever, or as long as you want to. What that looks like, what that means, if you're in a fucking computer, I don't know. If, there's some advancements in technology, medical technology that reverses aging, etc. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm telling you, within our lifetime, we will be able to live for a long time. Um, People are sleeping on AI, dude. It's just getting nutty. It's getting nutty. I use it for this podcast. It edits my vocals, all the recording. It edits the video for me, upgrades it. It does all my transcripts. It uploads to all the websites for me. Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, all that stuff automatically. Um, so AI is crazy, and it's only going to get better, and it's going faster and faster. Um, but back to the why. Um, yeah. So we got, because I like the podcast, selfish reasons. It's fun. Um, I'm gonna die eventually, so I want my kids to have something to remember me by, and then also to get my message out there to more than just me. I know there's somebody listening who's like, maybe something I say clicks with them, you know, or whatever. I want to get my story out there to people, um, to let them know you could do whatever. That's it. That's going to be the other part of this episode. Is like kind of my story, because I remember sitting down with Cora's grandparents whenever I was going to buy the company that we talked about in the third episode, and her grandma was like, "Well, we really don't know much about you, really, and we've been together for a long time. I mean, my past, not even really my past, but like my childhood and stuff. I'm not gonna just like talk about it really, unless you ask, because it's not great. Um, so I kind of told her a little bit, but like that's one of the things that I want to let people know. Like, dude, from where I came from the life that I came from, I'm doing okay. I'm successful, right? Air quote successful. Just because don't have a lot of money, or you're not high up in some company or whatever, doesn't merit success. That's not the only metric for success. Uh, there's plenty of other you know ways to identify that. So also, that's to people out there. Don't let that get you down, man. I recently went to a public speaking event with a local podcasting guy. He does the Lincoln County podcast, Matthew Boyer. He also owns a painting company, a taekwondo company. He just wrote a book. He does motivational speaking. Basically, it's like a mentor to me. It's a guy I really look up to and really follow. Because again, he's doing better than me at all the things that I want to do. So it's like, back to that thing, I practice what I preach. Honestly, for the majority of the time, I practice what I preach. Um, you got to take action, man. So find the people out there that you want to be like, that you want to imitate, and follow them. Um, but anyway, so I went to this speaking event that he hosted, and all these, successful business owners get up there and they're talking, and I noticed like, oh, I said that in the first episode of my podcast. Oh, I talked about that in the second episode of my podcast. Oh wow, that was in the third episode of my podcast. Like speaker after speaker, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, I could do this. Like I could do this. And I'm sitting in this room with these people, and I let that like, that little devil creep in my ear, and it's like, oh, you think you could be a motivational speaker? Why? What do you have to offer? Look at all these people around you. What could you possibly tell them, right? And to a degree, that's correct. I mean, I might know something that these people don't know. The likelihood of that's probably pretty high. But overall, like, what am I going to offer to these people? And then I thought to myself, and I'm like, oh, dummy, this is not your target demographic, right? Your target demographic is the people like you, the people that grew up like you, the people that are lost like you, who want to do something, they just don't know how. They just don't know where to start, what to do. Those are your people. That's who you need to get in front of, right? And I mean, even talking to friends, man, I bring up the motivational speaking thing. The first thing they say is like, "Who's gonna listen to you? You don't have a successful company. You don't. You're not successful." That's the first thing they say. I've had 3 people tell me that, dude. Like, it's kind of aggravating, honestly. Because again, what is success? To me, I'm successful, right? I got 3 beautiful kids. I have a great relationship, especially when I look at other people. That was another one of the public speakers. They did a husband and wife. They were a team, and they did everything together. The wife used to be like in the background, and then she, kind of got more involved. And he's talking about the relationship, and I'm like, man, it's nice to, find someone who kind of has what me and Cora have. Like, we don't have a lot of problems. We don't really fight. We talk a lot. She's like literally my best friend. Um, and I talk to so many people who hate their marriage. They hate their relationships. And it's, dude, it's kind of sad. Really, it's very sad. Got off on a tangent there. I don't even know how that came about, but don't listen to people, man. If you have a vision, understand that it's your vision, and they're not going to be able to see it, right? I figured this out whenever I tried to get a loan from the banker. And I told the guy straight up because he's like, oh, I've had so many lawn care company guys come in here and da da da. I've seen them all fail, and it's like, dude, I understand that, like from a banker's perspective, but I'm not like everybody else. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. I am not like everybody else, and it's hard for me to sell you my vision because you can't see what I see in my head, right? So when you have people around you, especially that are close to you, and they're trying to tell you something, you can't do this, you can't do that. Oh, but what about that? Bro, those are the worst kind of people. I cannot stand those people that always have something negative to say, or what about the bad? What about, which I understand mitigating risk, right? But at some point, it's just like, dude, is that all you do? Like, that's how your brain works? To me, again, we're going to talk about my childhood here in a minute, but like, how I was raised, I do not have the option for complacency. I am not risk adverse. I am willing to take risk because that's how you get ahead in life. And for that reason right there, I will be wildly successful. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be a year from now, it might be 5 years from now. I am telling you, I promise you, I will be someone. I will be more successful outside of just my family unit, right? We're talking about from a business perspective, whatever. Owner, operator. I want to get into acquisitions too. I've been looking into this lately. Um, using creative financing. Again, you got to think outside the box, dude. When you come up like we do, knowledge is power. Yeah, money is great, but like honestly, knowledge is power. If you can sell yourself, if you can sell what you know, you can do so many things in life. I promise you, you will get so far. Um, and back to the childhood. I speak the way that I speak, and I know the things that I know because words are free, right? Words are free. I grew up poor. So what did I do? I read books, I got information, I listened to people, I observed everything, right? That's why I'm able to talk the way that I am, right? How many podcasts do you watch? Because I watch a lot of podcasts, and I have to watch them on 1.5 times speed. This is why I talk so fast. We're only 15 minutes in, and I've probably said more in this 15-minute podcast than people say in 45 minutes. Dude, people talk so damn slow, it's insane. Because their brain is just, I don't know, it's not working very fast. Something. I don't like it. That's why I talk fast. It's why I'm able to talk fast because I've got so much information. I've received so much information. I, listened to so much shit that it just bounced around in my head and I can finally get it out. I'm like, yeah, let's go. That's the same reason, like, I don't like to force podcasts. I don't want to do them all the time because it's like, I want to deliver quality content. I don't want to just push it out, for you to listen to. Also, I like that hour time frame when I do these solo ones, so it's like I have to have enough to talk about again because I talk super fast, and there's a lot in the hour. Um, I have to be able to say, a decent amount of stuff, and I can only repeat myself so many times. I don't even know how we got to where we're at right now. Oh yeah, knowledge, free, right? Dude, use it. We grew up in a great time. It was a mixture of the real world and the internet. Okay, and luckily we were poor, but my mom did um, get me a computer. We didn't really have internet until I moved in with my grandma, which we'll talk about that in a little while. But at that point, that's when I really started, looking stuff up, constantly being on the internet, communicating with people, talking to people. I played a lot of video games, and they are kind of detrimental, but like at the same time, they do help you do some things. But if I had to go back, I would not choose playing video games over learning a trade or really studying something, or because all the hours I put into video games, dude, they say 10,000 hours, right? I could 1000% be a master of something. Pick something, I would be a master at it. Um, so I put well over 10,000 hours into video games. Same thing with like podcasts, dude. I've listened to thousands of hours of podcasts. That's another reason why I wanted to start a podcast. I'm like, I can do this. Like again, same thing with motivational speaking. That's what I love about seeing other people do shit. Like Matt, he's a local guy. You know how great it is? Okay, you can go on YouTube and look up anybody and you see him doing stuff and you're like, oh, that's cool. That's awesome. This guy's got success. But like when it's homegrown, when it's local, that makes it more real. You know? It's like, oh, this dude lives in the same area that I live in. He's doing it. And then like you learn about their background, you're like, okay, he didn't really come from money and he's still doing it. So that's like motivation to me to be able to do it. Everything, I'm one of those people that's like, I can literally do anything. Probably literally anything. If I see someone doing it, there's no reason that I can't do it. All I have to do is learn. And I have a brain, so I can learn anything, you know? I'm a very adaptable individual. Right now, I'm about to get on Indeed here in a little bit. I'm going to look up property management. I want to get into that. That's like an intro level, learn how to do it because I want to get into real estate. Well, that's a nice little segue. If I can learn how to manage property, I can create my own property management company. I can start, getting more experience, plus making, percentage of profits from all these properties that I manage. And then eventually that's just one route. It's just a possibility. I'm not saying that's what I'm gonna do because I always say I have ADHD, dude. You hear it when I talk. I'm all over the place. Uh, but always keep an open mind. Always be willing to try new things. Um, Problem is, man, I got 3 kids. A fourth one on the way. At some point, I'm 33. I think I turned 33 this year. At some point, risk gets riskier, if that makes sense. Because I have to provide a minimum amount for my family to live, and then still try to take risks on top of that, which we're doing pretty good. I worked out a deal with a local buddy of mine. I got a truck. We're in, baby. I throw him some cash down. I pay him every week. I'm paying a guy every week to use his mowers. I've got some accounts and I think I'm up to like 15 accounts. Constantly advertising, trying to get more. I'm doing cleanup jobs. Like I'm hustling on the side of bouncing around and helping other people, cut grass or whatever throughout the week. Then I make my cash. and that pays for stuff. Like, I'm constantly trying to do stuff. And that's what I was telling this kid the other day. Um, Cora's little cousin, he's been having some problems. And I'm like, dude, you're young. I'll tell you right now, you don't want to be where I am at 33 years old, waking up every day and going, okay, how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to make enough money to pay this bill? What do I got to do? You really don't want to live like that because you're not living, dude. You're surviving. That's all you're doing. You're surviving. And that keeps you mentally down because you have to use all this energy to make money, and then you don't have the time or the energy, the mental capacity to keep learning and keep growing to improve your situation, right? It's kind of like in North Korea. That's basically how dictators control populations, right? um, Starve them. Starve them of not only food but opportunity. If you don't have those two things, the only thing you're worried about is survival. You can't start a regime. You can't, bring the government down if you can't even do anything outside of trying to find food, right? That is how you control people. So when you're in poverty, half of the battle is surviving. It's very hard to break out of that and actually improve your situation to break the cycle. You have to have a driver. Then a lot of people, I don't know what it is. I guess I just got lucky. Some gene in my brain, some whatever, gives me the ambition, gives me the drive, gives me the power to want more out of life. Um, and I guess some people have it and some people don't. I mean, there's really no way around it. It's kind of like the thing that people talk about. Anyone in poverty, really. 1 out of 10 is going to make it out. Why? Why is that 1 out of 10? Just because whatever God-given thing they have in their brain. But I love to go on these tangents. It's great, But I'm doing, I'm doing what I'm doing and saying what I'm saying, sharing what I'm sharing, because that's what I use my time doing, right? And if I can maybe compound that all together and deliver it in a package, pulling all the little pieces of the puzzle out and then putting it together for someone so that they don't have to take the time. This is what I always tell my friends too when I try to give them like advice about something. It's like, chances are, dude, if I'm giving you advice on something, I've looked into it like quite extensively, probably. Um, I've done the research so that like I can just come in and tell you, hey, boom, do X X Y, so that you don't have to take the time because maybe that's not what you like to do. In another life, I've always said I'm probably like an investigative journalist, dude. I love that shit. Um, I love researching stuff. I really do. I love learning. Why I like to podcast. It's why I like to listen to podcasts. I like to get other perspectives. It just makes you like overall a better person. Like truly, it really does. Because when you have one perspective, you got blinders on. You're literally walking through life with blinders. Um, Goes back to the thing like we're in one of the greatest times ever. You have constant access to anything you could ever want to know is at your fingertips, right? And we waste so much fucking time on dumb shit, man. Me included. I just started journaling. We're already 23 minutes in, and I'm okay. We're still on the YB podcast. It's fine. I got plenty to talk about my life. I just started journaling, which I highly recommend because, again, every successful person that I know journals. Every single one of them schedules and journals. All of them. I'm on day 2. I've been consistent with it. I wrote down like my daily tasks. I need to get in my planner and write down like weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, so on and so forth for my lawn care company or like the property management thing. I was thinking about like branching into window cleaning maybe. I'm just again always thinking of avenues like how to make more money. Um, Once I have enough cash flow, then I can focus on like scaling up or business acquisitions or whatever else I want to do. Um, I'm actually going to talk to someone because they're constantly talking about wanting to sell their company. I just have to figure out how to get them to do creative financing on it, or coming in and saying, "Hey, what do you really want out of this company? Here's what I can bring to the table that I see that you're not doing. Let's work out a deal where like beyond where you're at right now of growth that I can bring in and generate for you. I'll keep X amount of it. And then let's say a little bit down the road you want to sell, okay, I'll take same percentage of the company at that point. Or maybe I even take it over. I don't know. Just a thought. There's ways to do things, is my point. Um, and I want to get there eventually. And this is like we're talking about access to anything, right? I've been on YouTube. I found this new lady. Oh man, I can't remember what her name is. I'll have to find it. But I've been watching a couple of her videos. She has an MBA. Used to work at Goldman Sachs, I think. Um, but she's big into business acquisitions, and then she's all about starting small businesses. What are good businesses? She breaks it all down, like what they need, how much money they can make. It's great. It's great. Again, all free, right? There's plenty of paid shit out there, but like, dude, there's so much free stuff that people are willing to give away. I hate that gatekeeping too of like mentors, especially. Oh yeah, I'll show you what I'm doing, but you have to pay me $6,000. What the fuck? Like, dude, you're gatekeeping information. Like, honestly, I understand making money, but if you're already successful, at some point it's kind of like just what the fuck, you know? Make it at least reasonable for someone who with drive and ambition that wants to get involved. I understand you got to weed the people out that don't want to, but I feel like they'll eventually do it to themselves. I don't know. That's a catch-22. I see why people do it, but at the same time, it's overpricing coaching and mentorships and all that stuff is just kind of crazy to me, and I don't think it's really right, especially in the age of information being free. If anything, you should sell like a subscription model. It's like $15 a month, and break it out to people, or something like that. That way, you can still make money on your content and your information at a decent amount. You just have to market yourself. Anyway, another tangent. So we've done why I want a podcast. So let's kind of break into like where I came from and destiny. Like honestly, destiny. That's one of the things I want to speak about in these motivational things because like don't just look at your life, right? I want you after you listen to this podcast, or you can pause it right now. I want you to not yet, because I'm about to tell you, but after I tell you this, I want you to sit back, maybe get a paper and a pencil, paper and a pen, and think about your life. Okay? Like replay it like a movie. Everything that's ever happened to you. Okay? And then I want you to go a step further. I want you to go to your parents' life. Everything you know about your parents. If your parents are still alive, talk to them. Ask them. Ask them about their upbringing. What it was like when they're from their birth all the way till right now. And then if you can, go to their parents, right? I'm going to tell you a little bit about my mom and her parents, and then we'll get into me. Uh, Netflix. I swear to God, this needs to be a series. Okay, my mom's life is fucking insane. Um, this is how this. Okay, so let's just get into it. So my mom's parents, okay, they had her mother had 5 or 6 miscarriages, I believe, before she had my mom. My mom was an only child. Okay, so that's anomaly number 1, right? When we talk about destiny here. Okay, my mom was an only child, 5 or 6 births to get her. Okay, at 6 months old, my mom is riding in the car with her mom and dad. They get into an accident. Okay, there just so happens to be a nurse following behind her mom and dad in the car. Both of them die. Her mom and dad both die in this accident. The nurse hears my mom crying in the car and basically saves her life. My mom breaks almost every bone in her body and she's in a cast for I think like 2 years. Okay. So again, anomaly number 2. 1, 5 miscarriages just to get my mom, right? 5 or 6. I don't know the exact number. 2, they get into a car accident. My mom's 6 months old. We're talking about 51 years ago. Technology's not that great, and who knows what car seats and all that's like. I don't know how bad the accident was, but bad enough for both of her parents to die. She lives. There's anomaly number 2. Anomaly number 3. There just so happens to be a nurse following them, and she saves my mom's life. Okay? Now, Apparently, from what I understand, you know, Netflix, that's episode one, right? That's how we start the series out, by the way. That's the opening scenes right there. That whole little thing. We can work the rest out. But apparently, my mom's side of the family is like ungodly wealthy, like her birth side of the family. Like we're talking one percenters. Back in the day, driving Bentleys with the Coliseum houses and whatever. From what I've heard, I don't know. I've never met any of these people. My aunt was talking to me about it, and she showed me an obituary of one of the guys she found. Um, Thinking about doing ancestry and seeing if I can find them, because I don't really talk to anyone on my side of the family on my mom's. So let's jump back to that real quick, and you'll know what I'm talking about here. So my mom gets adopted by my great aunt and uncle at the time, which I believe is her dad. It's on her dad's side. It's his brother, I believe. So I guess they were the godparents, and I guess back in the day that held more weight than it does now legally, so they got her, and then she just like never talks to anyone on the Vandover side of the family, which is my mom's maiden name. Um, so she goes with my aunt and uncle, and I thought they were always kind of poor, but apparently talking to my aunt, my uncle, which is my grandpa, follow me here, this is kind of fucking some Missouri shit. Um, my uncle used to be like a contractor and did like foundation repairs, foundations, and all kinds of stuff like that back in the day. And apparently he was pretty good at it, pretty successful small business, from what I understand. I knew nothing about this. I'm 30 something years old. I lived with my grandma and grandpa for many, many years, and I never heard anything about this. But I guess he had some trouble with alcohol, and essentially it led to the loss of all that stuff. From what I understand, I gotta talk to my aunt some more. Shout out G Fuel. We got some Sonic P trains. Fire. Um, but I guess they lost it all due to that. I don't really know. My grandpa's been in like concrete mechanic work ever since I've known anything about him. Which he retired from a couple years back, but he still does it because shitty kids. They're all leeches. Why I don't talk to any of them? Because they're all terrible people. And again, dude, I it goes back to what I've probably said in other episodes. The bad fruit, bad trees, bad limbs, whatever. I don't care if they're family or not. You got to cut them off. If they're not good for you, if they're not helping you, if they're not doing anything to positively affect your life, get rid of them. It does not matter if they're mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, cousin, sister. Doesn't matter. Cut them out. So I pretty much don't talk to anyone on that side of the family. Okay, so jump back here. Um, my mom lives with my aunt and uncle. And I believe at the time it was thought that my aunt and uncle could not have children. So they get my mom, right? And then they end up do having two more kids. But apparently my aunt was like very, very, very abusive towards my mom, like beat the shit out of her all the time. From what my aunt told me, even did it in front of the cops at one point. And she ended up getting custody of my mom, and I'm pretty sure she's like 2 years older than my mom, maybe like 3 years older. Uh, so that's insane. Okay, and then there's some other stuff that happened to my mom. She kind of messed her up. Rough child. All right. So she developed some bad habits pretty early on. Meets my dad. I don't know how long they're together. I don't know how long they're together before they have me. I don't know how long they're together after they have me, but I'm willing to bet it's like under 2 years. Definitely under 2 years. Um, my dad pretty much disappears. I don't know the extent of like what happened, why it happened. Um, Probably up until I was 16 years old, I could count on two hands the amount of times I see my dad that I can remember. And when I did go see him, it was really just to play with my brothers and sisters. My dad was really never around. Um, at least from what I remember. So, which is not a lot from my childhood, because, shit. So my mom, after she has me, She meets my sister's dad. I think this is the timeline. I regret again going back to my mom passing away, and I never talked to her about this shit because just all the stuff that happened. I never really I never hated my mom. Definitely never hated my mom. Never had any like real ill will towards my mom. She did the best she could do, right? Given the circumstances. But I never, we just weren't super close, especially there towards the end. Like we were, but we weren't. You know, it was like kind of a superficial, like on the surface level. I love you, I love you. You know what I'm saying? We never really talked about shit for real because man, my mom just had a lot of problems, dude. I remember being 15 years old and she'd be in the car, 13, 12, 13, 14, in the car, like, as I'm her therapist, just telling me about all this shit that I really had no idea or shouldn't have been knowing, you know? But she didn't have anyone else. So, anyways, she meets my sister's dad. Dude is an alcoholic. He spent more than half of my sister's life in prison, well more than half of her life in prison for like DUIs, DWIs, shit like that. Um, and so during that period, I mean, I watched my mom domestic violence, all this shit. I remember my mom telling me like, "Oh, you were potty trained because one time you went to the bathroom in your pants and you just beat the shit out of you." And basically, that's what potty trained you. You never had an accident after that. Okay, well that's fantastic. I also remember a time when I was like 4. I don't even know how old I was, honestly. I was very little. We were at his house, and I found a gun. Dude, he had a gun laying around. It was loaded. I took it in the living room and I fucking shot the gun. My mom was sleeping on the couch. I still, to this day, it's like one of my most vivid memories. Like thinking I could have fucking killed myself or my mom. Like, hella irresponsible. Um, but so yeah, there's a constant, all my childhood with them, constantly fighting, constant, all this shit. Finally, he goes to prison. My mom meets somebody else. This guy does meth. Okay. I think. At that time, I was still pretty young. I don't remember much. Lincoln Logs. That's about the only memory I have of this fucking guy. Um, Playing Lincoln Logs at his house. And he had 2 Dobermans. I remember that. Or he had a Doberman. So, fast forward. Again, my mom meets my brother's dad. This dude, 100% does meth. Right? Gets my mom involved. And, dude, I'm skipping a lot of shit. Okay? When I was like 19, my mom got a settlement check from when her parents passed away. Dude, $200,000. So we're talking about 20, 30 years ago. $200,000, a lot of money. Buy some land, did some other stuff. She bought some cars, bought some whatever. Spent all of her money. Um, when she met my dad, and I feel like that was one of the reasons my dad left. The money ran out. Maybe I don't know, man. I don't. But so again, it's like we go to destiny, right? My mom had like all these opportunities to do so much more. And apparently she used to own a bunch of like trailers and property and like she was a landlord and she had her shit together for a while. So the downfall is when she meets my brother's dad, who gets into meth, right? Which in turn gets my mom into meth. And at this point, this is when I remember I'm probably like 9. Uh, my mom gets into an accident and I get taken away. My sister gets taken away. I mean, I'm probably missing some shit. Again, my childhood is so fucking spotty. I just can't remember it all. Um, there was a decent time where she was dating this dude named Danny when I was young. And then again when I was like 12 for a couple years. But my mom never liked good guys. She never liked to be on the straight and narrow. She liked to fuck off. So that didn't last. I still talk to him this day. I consider him my dad. But anyways, I digress. Let's go back. So, my mom gets into a car accident. She's on pills. She's on drugs. She's on something. I don't remember exactly what. We all get taken away. Each of us go to our separate grandmas. Okay. Now at this point, I think I'm like 9. I remember going to my mom's house and she's sleeping. Dude, she'd been asleep for like 3 days. Apparently, she took like 40 Xanax and she didn't die. I just thought my grandma just told me she was taking a nap. Um, so I'm with my grandma and grandpa probably like 2 years in between this time frame. Um, which isn't much better because my uncle's a fucking psychopath, and I grew up around him. My aunt was also a psycho, but she's not a man, so she didn't really have the same impact that he did. But I remember him beating women. I used to be around him a lot. It just wasn't great, man. Uh, he's a piece of trash. So I'm there for 2 years. I go back to my mom's. She gets better, goes to rehab. I think she leaves my brother's dad for a little while, and this is when she meets Danny. And we have a good, 2 years, 2 or 3 years, where everything's chill. We're living in a double wide. We got some land out in Winfield. Shit's all right. Got a 3-wheeler. You know, I remember having a trampoline. Dude, these times were lit, bro. But they didn't last very long. I remember being 14. I don't remember what happened, but for some reason, I went and lived with my grandma again for a little while. 13 or 14. Um, oh, fuck, that's what it was. Okay. My brother's dad, the meth dude, gets caught for selling meth, goes to prison. Okay, here's my mom's genius fucking idea. She says, I'm gonna sell our double wide and the 9 acres we own where we live, and I'm gonna get a lawyer to bail this guy out of jail. Okay, so my mom essentially chooses this fucking meth head over the livelihood that she's provided for these 3 kids, right? Now we have no more double wide, we have no more land. I'm 14 at this point. Yeah, a little bit after that. Freshman year, I was still there. I go live with my grandma. I'm like, dude, I'm old enough to know at this point, that's fucking retarded. Um, and just, I can't even, as being a parent, I can't understand why someone would do that to their kids. I don't get it, dude. Um, Still pisses me off to this day. God, dude, ruined my fucking mom's life. I mean, my mom let these people ruin her life, but Jesus Christ. Um, so in between, I will say, in between all of these people, my mother, whenever she wasn't high, because there would be periods, there would be time periods, like I said, 9 years old, I got taken away, 7 to 9, it was probably fine. Probably 5 to 7, it was probably fine. 5 to 6, whatever, it was probably fine. But she would have these relapse periods where she would do drugs again, and then we would fucking lose everything we had. It happened 6 times. But in between those periods, my mom was great. Clean house, we had food, we were poor, but we had food stamps, so we had food. Um, Life wasn't lavish, but we didn't really, I don't know, man. We got by. And my mom always worked her ass off. That's where I got my work ethic from. My mom and my grandpa always fucking worked. My grandpa's almost 80 years old, and he's probably still working to this day. I don't know. I don't talk to him that much anymore. Um, that's just me being a piece of shit, really. And all the stuff that happened with my aunt, uncle, and my grandma, and all of them being trash. Just very unfortunate. And I should probably let it go and just talk to my grandpa like a man, but you know how men are. Anyways, my mom always worked her ass off in between these periods of where she was dating these shitheads, and she did literally the best she could do as a single mom. No one ever paid child support. No one ever helped her. All 3 of them deadbeat fucking losers. Still to this day, deadbeat losers. My dad's fucking 50-something years old, smoking crack and doing heroin still, ripping people off. My sister's dad's in prison, DWI, DUI, whatever the fuck. My younger brother's dad, this is a whole other fucking podcast. I mean, he's running around with my fucking 23-year-old sister, and he helped raise her. You sick fuck. Some Missouri shit happening here, okay? Got her addicted to drug. It's just a whole fucking thing. Anyways, so after we lose the double wide, my mom does that dumb shit. I go back with my grandma. Now, he's in prison. While he's in prison, guess what happens? My mom starts to do good again, right? Now she gets a single wide outside of town. I move back in with my mom, and I finish out high school there. 2 years, probably good. We're good for like at least 2 years. I remember senior year probably rolling around, and that's when she met this other dude and started doing dope again, right? And this is like what my little brother remembers. I think mostly is this time period, um, because it wasn't great, dude. I mean, I left at 16. As soon as I could get out, I left, staying on friends' couches, doing shit like that. And I look back and I think about it, and I'm like, damn, I kind of left my brother, but and my sister, but they both had their grandma, and at that point, that's kind of where they lived. That's where they stayed. Um, so like I said, we'd have periods of being fine, being okay, but then when it was bad, it was fucking bad. Eventually, my mom lost that trailer. I think she moved it in a lot next door to my grandma and grandpa, and at that point is when it got really fucking bad. I remember there in the end, and that's really what my brother remembers, because he's 10 years younger than me, is growing up there, and I remember there being holes in the fucking floor. The rooms were just disgusting. Dude, it was disgusting. The house was disgusting. Like, looking back on it, it's like, fuck. He didn't get the same, he definitely didn't get the same mom that I got for most of my life. Um, I mean, we shared some of the similar things, but by the time had gotten that bad, I was gone. Um, and that's kind of like I was telling somebody else the other day too. Like I feel like I had my first kid at 21. I feel like I ran from my family life as fast as I possibly could and kind of jumped in and created my own family very fast because it was like looking back on it, I feel like it was childhood me. You know, childhood me was trying to create the family unit that I never had. So at this point, everything I do is for my kids. I love my kids to death. I treat my kids very well. I spoil them. Everything I do is literally for my kids. I mean, I've basically created a fucking little island here, and I don't talk to people that are bad influences or are not going to benefit me or my kids. My kids don't see anyone in my family that's a piece of shit. Like it doesn't happen. Period. Um, I've isolated and created the environment that I wanted as a kid, right? And it took me a few years to kind of figure it out that I feel like that's why I did what I did, but it's okay, you know? I don't look back at my childhood and be like, oh, mom, it's all your fault for fucking everything. You fucked my life up. No, but I do think I would have had a much different life had my mom taken different choices and different paths. I think we went through a lot of things that were kind of fucking unnecessary that we didn't need to. I probably would still be a variation of who I am today, minus like half of the shit that went down. Um, but that being said, if none of it happened the way it happened, um, I wouldn't be who I am. Like even simply as like my dad staying around. I don't think I would be the dad that I am if my dad was who he should have been. Because I've always been good at looking and observing everything and saying, okay, this is not what I'm gonna do. This is exactly what I'm gonna avoid. I'm gonna do the opposite of that. So I had a shit dad. I'm a great dad. I had a mom addicted to drugs. I never really did any drugs. I tried to smoke once when I was like 11. I think I tried a beer when I was younger one time. Tasted like shit. Alcohol tastes like shit. Cigarettes tasted like shit. Started coughing. I'm like, why does anyone do this? It's retarded. I tried to smoke weed once when I was like 14. Didn't really do anything. Again, I'm like, it's retarded. I tried again when I was like 19. I think I got drunk like twice before I was 21. Um, I just did very good at avoiding all of the bad things outside of having a kid super young. Also, when I was 16, I started selling drugs. Again, product of your environment, right? You kind of imitate and do what you see. Everything around me was drugs. Everything around me was drugs. And then I grew up on rap music, so entertainment was raising me alongside of like me watching all these people. Now, again, I said I do the opposite, right? I never did the drugs. I just sold them. So it was like I was trying to make money, even from a young age. Um, that's where all my entrepreneurship. See, I didn't go to college. I didn't go to school. The school I went to was the streets. The school of the streets. I figured out basic, sales skills, product management, inventory, profit and loss. All of that I learned from selling drugs, realistically. Uh, and that's carried over later on in life. But I sold drugs probably like I worked at KFC when I was 16. From there, I made some money, bought some drugs, started selling drugs, quit my job at KFC, solely sold drugs for like 16, 17, 18, probably like 18 and a half. Um, primarily weed, but there towards the end I got into like Molly and when that was kind of big. Other bad shit. But eventually someone got busted and they set me up. And then I got busted. Went to jail for like a week, realized that fucking sucks. Never gonna do that again. Got out, got a lawyer, got it removed from my record. Um, super important. If you ever get in trouble, man, SIS, SES, whatever the fuck it, service something's expunged. I don't even know. Sentence expunged, service, I don't know. One of those fucking things. Sentence, I'm not even gonna try anymore. Basically, if you do your probation, you do whatever, and you don't get in trouble again, it gets taken off your record unless you like go in front of a judge or you get in trouble again. That's the only way it's going to pop up. You can do your job, apply for a job, they can do a background check, nothing's going to pop up. Um, so that was very important. I paid a lot of money for that, and then I got a job um, working at Schnucks in the bakery department because my first girlfriend's mom worked there. Did that for a little while. Um, that sucked. Ended up, I stayed though. I stuck it out. I got promoted to assistant manager in like 2 years. I think I was a manager in like 3 years. I've just always been a hard worker and smart, man. I catch on to shit very fast. And again, my background in sales and all that shit, when it comes to business, I'm very good. I'm very good. And bring back to childhood, observing and watching everything. Dude, I've worked for all these lawn care guys and I've seen like what works and what doesn't work, and that's just even made me better too. So like getting exposed to all this again, I'm a culmination, man, of every experience I've ever had in my entire life. That's who I am right now. You have to let that happen though. Don't get in your own way. Um, be able to decipher the good from the bad and use what's good and discard the bad. That's so important, dude. If I can give one piece of advice to people, that's it. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, man. I like to use Donald Trump. Everybody hates him. Not everybody, but a lot of people hate him. A lot of people think he's a fucking retard. And sometimes he is. But sometimes he'll say some shit where you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right. That's correct. Okay. Well, if you never listen to anything Donald Trump says, you never get that one little gem. I'll use Andrew Tate, prime example. Dude says some dumb misogynistic shit sometimes, but then other times he'll say something about being a man or being a husband, being a father, whatever, where you're like, oh, that's actually that's a gem right there. But you don't get that if you don't listen to anything these people say. So always be willing to listen to anyone and then just discard the information that doesn't serve you. Okay? It's that fucking simple. You don't have to attack them. You don't have to call them a retard. You don't have to call other people retards who listen to them. People are just so ate up, man. Um, life ain't that fucking serious. And I promise you, your guy's not any better than the other guy or somebody you listen to always says the right thing. I guarantee it's not the case. So, maybe be a little fucking open minded because you're not always right. I don't even know how I got off on that tangent. But, so management, I don't know what happened. The shift, somewhere like 23, man, I started smoking weed and it kind of just, I get it. I understand why people did what they did. My mom, addicts, I get it. Okay, I did that for a long time. I smoked a lot of weed for like 5 years, which I will say it kind of opened up my brain though, because I feel like it's at some point I was just a robot, dude. I felt like a fucking cog in a machine. I would just go to work, I would come home, do my thing, I'd go to work, come home, and do my like. I don't even remember those fucking times really. Outside of it's like a daydream, dude. I don't even know. I don't really know how to explain it. How I felt. I literally did not feel alive. I felt literally like a robot, just doing a task, coming home, doing a task, coming home. Like now, yeah, we talked earlier about how I'm hustling all the time. I'll tell you what, you feel alive, you know? When you constantly got to change shit up and do different shit every single day, your life's always different, you feel alive. You feel driven, you feel a purpose, right? Um, there's just something about monotony that's not great, at least not for me. I hate it. It's boring. I tried the factory line shit. I've tried. I don't know how people go to work every day and do the same fucking thing for 8, 10, 12 hours a day, bro. It literally makes me want to take a gun and put it in my mouth. This is unfiltered, okay? I'm going to say exactly what I think and how I feel. I don't know how you do it. Props to you. I'm sure you hate it. You got a family to take care of, so you bite the bullet. Metaphorically, not literally. Um, but it's not for me. Um, it's not for me. And I think after I got a vehicle when I was 16, I started to see my dad more. He kind of like my mom. He had probably a few good years here and there, and then he would relapse, fuck people over, steal shit, anything to, buy crack or whatever the fuck he was doing at the time. Um, but with that being said, my dad's very entrepreneurial. And I feel like that's where I kind of get some of that from. And then learning, I knew my mom owned property back in the day, but it's like so funny, like seeing my interests now. I am very business oriented, very business minded, very entrepreneurial, and I'm also interested in like real estate, property, stuff like that. We've talked about before in the beginning of the episode. It's coming back full circle, baby. Callbacks. What's up? Um, but it's funny, like how much of that shit's genetic, you know? And I've always stayed away from the hard shit, like outside of weed. I think I've tried coke twice. Again, transparency is key. Not for me. I think it's a waste of fucking money. It's too expensive. I don't care what anybody else says. Just do fucking Adderall. It's like $5 and it lasts way longer. You're wasting your fucking money snorting coke. Um, I did pills for a little while. I met a guy. I would trade him weed for pills. And then eventually the guy I was selling the pills to went to rehab, stopped doing them. So then I just had like a pile up of all these pills. Well, you know me. Got an addictive personality, so I tried them once and I'm like, I like the way this feels. And I kept eating them, and that went on for like 3 weeks, dude. I was eating them like all day long. There was no point where I wasn't high. And finally I'm like, yeah, this is a problem. I cannot do this anymore, and I just stopped. So again, I don't know what it is in my brain here, but I can identify and just commit um, to something if I want to do it, if I really want to do it. Uh, I don't know why. I don't know what it is because my sister still struggles to this day. She's 23. No, she's not 23. She's like 27. 28 maybe. And she's in rehab right now. Um, and hopefully this helps her get sober and she can commit herself to staying sober. Because right now she has a mentality of like rehab's gonna fix my problem. Rehab will get you, you know, maybe closer to the finish line, but you gotta finish the race and you gotta stick it out. Like no one can help you stay sober besides yourself. At the end of the day, really, it all comes down to you. Accountability, primary thing. Um, and my mom always struggled with that, dude. She was doing drugs. I found someone. She passed away from 2021. It was like a rehab thing talking about it was a letter to meth about how it ruined her life. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking 48 at the time you wrote this letter. You're 48 years old using meth. You got 3 kids. You got one, two, three grandkids. I think at that time, maybe 4, probably 3. And you're still using drugs. You're still ruining your fucking life. I do not understand it. Again, from a perspective of a parent, I don't get it. But at the same time, okay, I say that, but at the same time, right? We talked at the beginning. My mom lost her mom and dad in a car accident, abused by her stepmom. There was some other shit that went down during her childhood that I don't really know the full extent to, but it wasn't great from a female's perspective. You can use your imagination. I don't know the extent of whatever all it was, but a lot of trauma. Okay, and we live in the age of information. I have access to figuring out, other ways to diagnose and self-reflect on my trauma and not just band-aid it using drugs. My mom didn't have that luxury. I mean, she probably did therapy programs, but it's probably come a long way since then. Um, she was just masking that trauma, and I can't imagine losing my parents at such a young age. Well, I mean, let's be fucking honest. Pretty much just had my mom. And then when she passed away, it was really because that was all I had. Like as far as family, outside of my stepdad, who I consider my dad, like and my stepsister, dude, I don't have a lot of people. That one really fucking sucked. Because my mom was pretty much everything. As bad as shit was sometimes, my mom was my mom. Um, she was all I had. So I can't imagine going my entire life knowing that I would never get the chance to see them or meet them, or that's got to put a hole inside of you, a void. My mom would always tell me there's a void inside of me that I can never fill. And so I can't really imagine living life like that. Just having that trauma and having no way to deal with it. So I don't blame my mom necessarily for the things she did. Um, just looking back, it fucking sucks. Like, why? Why do we get dealt? Why do we get dealt the hand we get dealt? It goes back to destiny. Remember I was talking about? My mom doesn't survive that. If she isn't born, one, if she doesn't survive that, two, three, goes to that other family, her mom's side of the family, instead of her dad's, different life. Four, my dad doesn't leave and do what he did. She doesn't do all the drugs. Like I wouldn't be here. One, I don't think. At least maybe I would. I don't know. Who fucking knows how that all works? Maybe I'd just be a consciousness in another body. I wouldn't be who I am today, sitting here in front of you, if none of that ever happened. And that's why I talk about destiny. And I'm going to tell people, like, remember when I said pause this video and rewind your life like a movie and your parents' parents, right? You're not going to sit here and tell me that I'm not here for something greater than going to punch a fucking clock for people. Nope. You can't fool me, dog. You can't fool me. I've been through too much adversity in my life for that to be the case. I might, you could say, oh, you're just saying that because to make you feel better. Okay, sure. But the truth is, you don't fucking know. And ultimately, I don't know either, but I can feel it. There's something inside of me. There's something inside of me that drives me and pushes me to do all the things that I do. And I know it's because I am meant to be here and meant to do something more than what I'm doing right now. Okay? So why do I podcast? Because I feel like I need to. I feel like I have something to say. I feel like I can help people. When I want to do motivational speaking, man, I would love the opportunity to go to like underprivileged schools and talk to kids who are growing up in the same way that I did. Dad's not around. Mom's doing drugs. Maybe mom and dad are both doing drugs. Maybe you're witnessing domestic violence all the time. There's hope. There's hope at the end of the tunnel, man. Don't give up. Do not fall into the cycle. Don't do the same shit that everybody else is doing around you. I know it's hard. I fell victim to it too. One bad decision sets you back. One step forward, two steps back. It's like fucking 10 steps back. It's so hard to, when you come up in poverty, is what I tell people. It's basically like having a fucking ball and chain tied around your leg, and then the guy with the gun pulls the trigger, and everybody starts running. Yeah, you're gonna get to the destination eventually, but not as fast as everybody else who got a head start from birth. It's going to be a lot harder for you. There's going to be a lot of struggle there. Okay? And the more you fuck up, the more wrong things you do, the more bad things you do from that period from birth up until you're an adult, the heavier that fucking ball gets. You know, sometimes to a point where you can't move. You have no options. And I would say ultimately that's death or prison. Death or prison are the only two defining things to where your situation's never going to change. I mean, when you get out of prison, yeah, you have an opportunity, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be even harder. Um, so avoid those two things, and then avoid all the minor things on the way up, man. That's all I can say. I don't regret my kids, but I do regret having them as young as I did. Um, Especially not being where I want to be in life so that I can provide a better life for them. I posted something on Facebook that said, my kids want a lot, but they don't need anything, right? I take care of my kids, I spoil them. And in today's terms, and especially looking at my childhood, they're fucking spoiled. Um, and they don't understand that. My son constantly will say how unfair things are and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea, bro. That's why I make him do the push-ups. That's why he comes to work with me. That's why I push him as hard as I push him because he has a good life. Um, but with that being said, I still wish it could be better. I still wish I could give them a better life. I want to be able to travel with them. I hate that they come home and live in this fucking trailer. It's a box, dude. Talk about a prison. This might as well be a prison, dude. I wish I had a house. My daughter's 11 years old. By the time I get my shit together, she's gonna be probably 14. I mean, who knows? Something might happen from here until the next 2 years and something crazy happens. I'm always working. You never know your boy has always got a plan. One of them just need one to pan out. Um, but still, most of her childhood, thankfully, on her mom's side, they're a little bit better off than me. Her grandparents are better off. So she's done a lot of things. She's been on vacations. She's pretty much grown up in a house most of her life. Her mom just got married recently. They have a house now. So, like, at least on one token, she's getting that now while she's still a child. It sucks that I'm not the one that's able to fucking do it, but life plays out the way it plays out sometimes. Uh, you just got to keep moving forward, man. Um, so that's a little bit about me, you know, and where I come from, what I've been through. I mean, I'm sure there's way more into it than what I just touched the surface. Shit could have been better, but I'm thankful for the experiences I've had so that I could be who I am at the end of the day. I wouldn't, I wouldn't change it. Um, so we talk about destiny, right? If all the things that happened didn't happen the way they happened, I don't have my daughter. I don't have my son. I don't have my other daughter. I don't have this fourth child on the way. My kids are fucking great, bro. My kids are great. All of them are great. They're beautiful. They're healthy. They're intelligent. My son is extremely intelligent. My daughter is extremely intelligent. My other daughter is extremely intelligent, but she's kind of lazy sometimes. I gotta push her, my oldest daughter. Um, she's she's a lot like me. She's very quiet. She's observing. She's smarter than she puts on, and she doesn't try like she should because I feel like it comes pretty easy to her, just like me when I was in high school. I didn't try because I didn't really need to. I feel like she kind of has that same mindset. So I gotta work with her a lot. It's just hard. Co-parenting, man. You know how it is. Um, some of you do. There's difficulties with it. But we've been in here for an hour and 10 minutes. This went at least as long as I wanted it to. I jumped around a little bit, but I feel like you know it was a pretty good flowing podcast. Gave you a little bit of info into my life. Um, Kind of let you guys know. Yeah, I get it. You know, I get it. I get the rough childhood. I get the shitty life. I get the struggles of everyday living. I get I know it all, man. I understand it. I understand it all. Again, I have a unique perspective in which to give advice. I'm 33 years old, but I promise you I've lived 3 lifetimes already. I'm way wise beyond my years. Yeah. So, that's the Kyle Show, episode 6, Why and Who I Am. Sports Gang out.